Do you feel that games get boring way too early nowadays? Or maybe the games ain't fun anymore because you feel that they are a chore or just too damn compatible. In many cases, it's the game's fault. Not so much those AAA games out there, adventure games and all, but the vast majority of games we get every week, every day nowadays. I'm talking about the paying structure the mobile games have today. That's also bleeding into every other game, more and more. Games today are created with one thing in mind, and to get it, they attack your weakness. In plain sight, but still hard to see at times, they distance your progress on purpose in games. They make sure your progress stagger. Your feeling for achieving something is what they use to finance the game. Games used to pay out by putting time into it, grinding and being better at the game with your knowledge, your personal skills or reaction time. But ever since games on phones became a thing, it proves over and over again that this game idea works better than any other game. Mobile companies make billions every year, vastly more than traditional game companies. They make money on making sure that you don't get what you want to be. So no wonder this pay-for-achievement scheme is nestling into every game nowadays. But how do we fix this? How do we get around it? Because this is most likely why you feel the way you feel about games today. Not only paywalls is the issue. When we start a game today, then not only do we have a certain feel for what the game is about, which to be fair, don't have to be as you think. Your mind and your interpretation of descriptions are not always the same as the writers. So there will be a hype built in your feelings for the game, and you will also compare it to other games you have played before. Back in the older days maybe, when you had more time, less knowledge about what's ahead, more friends that played the same game, friends you could discuss with. The future you is different, and situations as well as games and playstyle is never the same. If you compare games today with those feelings you had back then, will make any game difficult to enjoy fully, and it will give you the feeling that the game is a failure, because you didn't get back that feeling that you were hoping for. Take for example the Diablo II Resurrected. I played Diablo 2 back in the days for years. I just couldn't get enough. But since I bought Resurrected, 20 years later, not as much. But my whole life ain't the same. My time to play the game and the mystery is totally different now. So it was not the same. And then naturally, we try to blame something to make us understand what is wrong. And I get it. Loot is bad, the story is bad, the controls are bad. When Resident Evil went from OTS to first person, people freaked out. But that's truly not always the full story. Sure that it's in some cases a big thing, but it's not helping that what hides in the corner is a failed way of making a game that we expect. But it's a great way for them to make a game with profit. So what is our weakness? When you play a game, you have a goal. Beat the game, be the best at it, or get all the characters, or whatever it is. You have a goal in game. And to get there, games today love to make it as hard as possible, but with a solution, your wallet. So how do we approach this? Is this something we just have to accept? We rarely can change games, so what is left to change? You can change. Let me tell you some great way to do this, so that you can start enjoying almost any game out there today. First of all, you must recognize that today is not the same as a few years back. Whatever your situation is, you have changed. So why not change in the way you see games as well? It is easy to say stop putting money into games, but I want you to think why you play a game. Why do you play the game you play? I would assume it's because it's fun. Unless it's strictly just to be the best without any feelings or enjoyment at all, then you just do you, and you probably need the money to get there. But playing a game has to be because you enjoy it. So what do you enjoy? Really think about it. What do you enjoy? Progress is most likely it. Yeah, some games is just enjoying for the moment, no matter the progress, but those are quite few. But a progress to what? The progress towards a goal. knowing you got better or closer to it. But did you really set that goal? Or did the developers set that goal for you? Today it's so easy to read up on the internet how you progress in any game, what to do, how to do it quickest. And this is great, but it does shorten the game with a lot more than you think. And it might not be that obvious that you got handed goals. Goals you now work towards that are directly related to progress within the game. Progress that developers have set up to make as much money they can from. So you need to come up with your own goals, not only with games that don't have a clear path, but for any game. I remember my wife sat down to play Sims a year back or so, and I asked her what do you do in the game? She told me that Sims is a game where you create a family, and she just wanted to build a house for a while. Nothing more. I was stumped. For a while? What then? Nothing, she said. I just want a good time. And I'm not sure that's what you do in that game, but it made me think. She had her own goals for a few hours, and she enjoyed the hell out of that game. I could not believe it, because I'm a very competitive guy. Doing that would be a waste of time, but a waste of whose time? A waste of my time. To be fair, I would probably have a good time if I'd liked the game, but I would feel I didn't achieve anything. And the point is, many of us are so focused on climbing ranks or building the nicest stuff or being the fastest that we are in a race every time we play a game. Games today ain't relaxed anymore, and that's nothing wrong with it, but when you're constantly putting money into a game to get somewhere, or always have to push any necessary stuff with minimal joy, this becomes an issue. Stress, anxiety, headache, tiredness, and all that comes from playing a game that should be a great time. Your time to dream away. This last year I've played games differently, and among all those, I've played maybe 70 mobile games only this year. I've noticed that I had a lot more fun and a lot less stress. And sure, I didn't spend as much money on games, I didn't get where the games wanted me to go, but I didn't actually care, because my goals were more important. Just because I made my own goals in every new game I tried instead of following the structure on all based games today, I also saved money. Not enjoying a game today is not only because the game had changed, you have changed as well. And if you change a bit, you might be able to enjoy the games you would like to play today. It's not a big sacrifice, and you will notice that not all games are bad. Play healthy, drink a lot of water, and I'll see you guys again.